Today in our 2014 Chrysler Town and Country, we're going to be installing Curtz T-connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector, part number C56331. This 4-pole flat trailer connector is going to provide you with all the necessary lighting. This includes your left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps, and brake lamps, so you'll be DOT compliant in all states. This harness has its own separate control module that's going to tap in to your existing rear tail lamps to get the signals, and then it'll provide those signals from the module to your connector. What's nice about this is that module has its own fuse protected circuit, so if there's any faults on your trailer, such as a short, it'll only affect the circuit going to your module and not anything on your vehicle. It also has an included dust cap. This will help keep out any dirt and debris, which will help ensure a long-lasting connection on your 4-pole flat connector. Additionally, this can be used to hold your wiring in place on your hitch. Just loop it through one of the safety chain loops. We'll begin our installation at the rear of the vehicle with the lift gate open, and we're going to remove both the driver's and passenger side taillights. On the inside panel here, you'll see that there's 2 bolts. We'll remove those with a 10mm socket. You can now remove your taillight assembly by pulling rearward. If you're having a difficult time getting it out, you can use a plastic body panel remover tool just to help pry it backwards. That'll release it from the locking tabs that went into those slots there. We'll then disconnect the connector that goes to our taillight assembly, push the red locking tab out, then press on the release tab and separate the connectors. You can now set your taillight assembly aside and repeat the same process on the other side. We can now take our vehicle wiring harness and plug it into our factory connector. You'll take the male end and plug it into the female end on your new harness. We'll now take some alcohol and a cloth, and we're going to clean off the location where we're going to stick our module. We're going to be putting our module right down here, so you clean off this area as well as the back side of your module. Now peel off the adhesive backing from your double-sided tape provided with the kit and stick it on your module. Then peel the backing off on the other side. And we're now going to place this. You'll want to press on the module for about 25 seconds to ensure a good adhesion to the vehicle. We'll now hook up our ground wire. We'll use the self-tapping screw provided in the kit. And we're just going to run it right into the metals right next to our module. We're now going to run a fish wire to run some of our wiring up and down. We're going to use a piece of Airline hosing to do this, but anything that's rigid but with a slight bit of flexibility to it's going to be great. It'll be easier to feed wiring if it's not flexing around on you. We'll start by feeding the black wire that comes with our kit from the bottom up into our housing so we can make its connection to the module. We'll just use some electrical tape to tape it to our fish wire. We'll then pull that wire up. And we can now use that to make our connection. Strip back some of the black wire. And then crimp on one of the yellow butt connectors in the kit. We've gone ahead and decided to upgrade ours to heat shrink butt connectors. This will prevent moisture from getting in there and causing corrosion. You can pick up some heat shrink butt connectors here at Etrailer.com. We'll now use a heat gun to shrink down our butt connector. We'll then use our fish wire trick again to run the rest of our wiring down. This will include our 4-pole flat trailer connector as well as the harness with the green wire. Then feed your wiring down using your fish wire. Make sure everything comes through. We'll now run the green wire across to the other side. And you want to avoid anything excessively hot, like your exhaust here. So we're going to want to make sure that we tie our wire up and away from that exhaust. There's some factory wiring here that we can tie it to, so we'll just make sure we zip tie it there. And this will keep it up out of the way, away from our exhaust. While we're down here running our wiring, we're also going to run our 4-pole flat trailer connector over towards our hitch. We can then tie up any excess and connect it to our hitch using the dust cap. We'll then use our pull wire trick again to bring our green wire up from down below into where our passenger side housing is. We can then plug that connector into our factory harness. Now on both your driver's and passenger side, plug your taillight assemblies into your new harnesses and reinstall your taillight assemblies. Make sure to line up both the tabs. They'll press into place, and you can reinstall the 2 bolts with your 10mm socket. You'll do the same on your passenger side as well. We'll now take our black wire and we're going to route it under the vehicle up to our engine compartment so we can hook it up to our battery. When routing the wire, you want to make sure that you avoid any excessively hot items, such as your exhaust system, or any moving components such as your steering or suspension. I'm going to route this wire now, and then I'll show you how I routed it afterwards. We routed our wire starting along our fascia here, zip tying it to the wiring that was there. We then ran it up through our hitch, down along the side of the trunk, up over our rear suspension, down next to our fuel tank. And once we hit our fuel tank, we just followed our parking brake cable all the way to the front, zip tying it along the way. Ensuring that when you get to this portion here, where the cable is exposed from the sheathing, not to zip tie it to this because this is a moving component, so we want to go around that. And then we can continue zip tying it again once we're back on our sheathing. And we brought it up here, and this is just holding it in place for us right now. We'll use our fish wire trick again, open our engine compartment to get down here to route this back up. We're going to start routing our fish wire back down behind our battery, kind of following the brake lines going down, as our brake lines are going to be routed in a way where they're not going to be damaged by any moving component. We'll now tape our wiring to the fish wire we ran down, and we'll use this to pull it back up into our engine compartment. Now pull your wiring up using your fish wire. And once you've got it all the way up, it's a good idea to hop back down below and just double check to make sure you didn't get caught on anything. We can now prepare our fuse harness. If it's looped around like this, then you may need to cut it in half. And then you'll want to strip back both ends. On one end, we'll crimp on the yellow ring terminal that comes in our kit. And on the other end, we'll crimp on one of the yellow butt connectors from the kit. And once again, we've decided to upgrade ours to a heat shrink butt connector, as it does live outside the vehicle. The other end of the yellow butt connector, we're going to connect to our black wire. Trim your black wire to the proper length. Strip it back. And connect it. And now we'll heat shrink down our butt connector. Now remove the small nut with a 10mm socket. This is on our positive battery terminal, noted with the plus. Slide the ring terminal from your fuse harness on, and then reinstall the nut. Now we'll install the fuse that comes with our kit. That's a 15 amp fuse. Slide that in your fuse harness. Reinstall the cover. Now we're ready to test out the system and make sure everything's working properly. You can now plug in a tester or plug in your trailer and verify it's working. You can pick up one of these testers here at Etrailer.com. These are a great little diagnostic tool, because if you're having some issues, you can verify if your trailer is causing the problem or if your vehicle wiring harness is causing the problem. If everything works on your tester, you know it's your trailer. And here you can see we've got our left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps, and brake lamps. And now with everything working properly, we can go back, clean up any of our wiring with the zip ties provided in the kit. Then we can hook up our trailer and hit the road. And that completes our installation of Curtz T-connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector on our 2014 Chrysler Town and Country.